Hello, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And in this segment, I'm going to be going over how to write Chapter 5 in your dissertation. This is more specifically the quantitative dissertation checklist. I know a lot of students, when they're starting out, this is quite a daunting task. There's a lot of components to this, and a lot of students tell me that when they complete this, they hadn't realized that they could write this much. And so this is something that is important to keep in mind as you're writing the chapter. So let's go ahead and get started. You want to, again, start with an introduction, and if you've listened to my previous videos, introduction and summary are extremely important, so that there's some understanding of what will be written in here. So concisely reiterate the purpose and nature of the study and why it was conducted, and then summarize key findings. Again, this might seem like a lot of pages. However, you want to keep this concise. At the most, a page, probably a lot less. Now, the interpretation of the findings. This is where things get more complicated than what you would expect. So, describe in what ways findings confirm, disconfirm, or extend knowledge in the discipline by comparing them with what has been found in the peer-reviewed literature described in Chapter 2. So I'll give you an example. In the general population, there's a connection between low physical activity and development of diabetes. When you look at certain immigrant populations, so one of the populations that one of my students was looking at is African immigrants. When you look at that population, then there is no connection between physical inactivity and diabetes. So while this is considered no significance, not statistically significant, is considered a negative finding, and that means that there was no connection. If you contextualize this from the general population perspective, then you can see all of a sudden that there's certain patterns that you would expect and is not in a subpopulation that you're studying. So keep in mind that lack of statistical significance doesn't necessarily mean that the findings are insignificant. So analyzing and interpreting the findings in the context of theoretical and conceptual framework. This is also important. Some of my students initially forget to do this. You have to tie this. You have to tie this back into the conceptual theoretical framework that you introduced in Chapter 2. So then, of course, we went over interpreting the findings in the context of theoretical conceptual framework. Ensure interpretations do not exceed the data findings and scope. So don't make overarching generalizations. Try to keep your conclusions and your interpretation within the context of what you found within the study. Of course, limitations, threats to validity and reliability, some of those biases that we have talked about, you revisit here, and then you provide an overview about what is included. So the limitation generalizability is important as well. Now, again, a lot of these are kind of summarizing the findings in previous chapters, and then you describe, again, very important, describing the recommendations for further research. So you're trying to say that this is not the end of the research. This is kind of a springboard to conduct additional research for future individuals. And this is not uncommon from what is seen in peer-reviewed published articles. You always end with some limitations and recommendations. So the next component, of course, is trying to make sure that the implications are provided, and of course, at Walden University, positive social change is of utmost importance. Um, so at the appropriate level, maybe this is at the individual level. It might be all of them: individual, family, organizational, and societal. And ensure, again, the implications can't be overreaching. They have to be from the context of your study. And any sort of methodological or theoretical empirical implications are also important, and then recommendations for practice. So then you conclude with a take-home message, and that captures the key essence of the study. And this is kind of generic in how this is presented. However, this is something that uses some creativity to be able to come up with. And so that concludes the whole study. And there's very important components to include in here. I hope this has made some sense. Thank you for listening.